Okay, looks like we have to destroy some terrible argument against Christianity once again. So there's a new argument going around by a famous Muslim TikToker by the name of KORRA. She's been running this argument where Jesus says that he will not drink from the fruit of the vine until that day where he is in the kingdom. But then on the cross, they soak sour wine in a sponge and give it to Jesus. And after that, Jesus says, "It is finished." Now, they've been running this as a contradiction.
Correct.
Do you believe that Jesus was an honest man?
Yes.
He never uttered any lies whatsoever.
No.
Okay, can you open up Matthew 26?
Say to you, I will not drink of its fruit of the vine from now on until the day when I drink it with you new in my Father's kingdom.
Open up John 19.
You about to get absolutely.
You ready to get BTA? Perfect. After this, knowing that everything had now been accomplished and to fulfill the scripture, Jesus said, "I am thirsty." A jar of sour wine was sitting there, so they soaked a sponge in the wine and put it on a stalk of hyssop and lifted it to his mouth. And when Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, "It is finished." Bowing his head, he yielded up his spirit. So Jesus says that he's not going to drink wine until he is united with the 12 in his Father's kingdom.
Well, let's see how she handles me.
Okay, so here, I'll tell you why it's not a valid argument. Is grape juice wine?
Grape juice is what you use to make wine, yeah.
Right, exactly. So what turns grape juice into wine?
It's fermented, right? I don't know.
Yeast, right?
I don't know how wine is made, to be honest. But I think it's just, yeah, it's fermented.
Yeah, yeast and other ingredients as well too, which then turns it into wine.
Okay.
So if I go buy a bottle of wine, you wouldn't say that I'm drinking grape juice, right?
No, yeah, sure.
Right, but grape juice was used to make wine.
Right.
Okay, so the same way that you're not going to call a bottle of wine grape juice, even though grape juice was fermented and turned into wine because of a chemical change, is the same reason why you can't call vinegar wine, because it's the same process happening on both liquid substances.
No, but that's presuming that it is vinegar, right?
It is vinegar. Sour wine is vinegar. That's literally what vinegar means. That's the definition.
So why would they make him drink vinegar? That doesn't make sense.
In French, vinegar literally means sour wine.
Okay, but why are they making him drink vinegar if he's saying he's
because
thirsty?
It's a prophecy in Psalm 69.
To drink vinegar? What's the prophecy in that? Psalm 69?
Okay, now I want you guys to pay very close to what is about to happen. She's asking me, why would they make him drink vinegar? Watch what happens when I give her the prophecy in Psalm 69, verse 21. Watch what she does.
Mm-hmm.
Pull it up.
Yeah.
What verse?
Yeah, Psalms 69, I believe, verse 21.
All right, let me see. Psalm 69:21. They put gall in my food and gave me vinegar for my thirst. Oh, wow. This is silly. Okay.
How is it silly? It's a prophecy. I just showed you.
Yeah, but the word that's being used here doesn't necessitate vinegar. If it was vinegar, they would have said it's vinegar.
So as you can see, she clearly sees that I'm right about it being a prophecy, and she tries to giggle it off. That's clearly the nervous laugh that I didn't really just refute you, but I proved to you that what I was saying is right, that he was served vinegar and not wine. Now, this is clearly someone who doesn't want to see the truth. Obviously, I mean, the live is at 600. It goes up to about 1,000. And so she's most likely not going to concede to her audience because it will give them shubuhat. They'll start to get doubts. Now, I want you to pay attention to this comment as well. It says, "I speak French and this ninja just made it up." Well, sir, if you speak French, well, then what is this right here? You guys got to stop just saying anything.
Necessitate vinegar. If it was vinegar, they would have said it's vinegar.
That's what vinegar is,
No,
sour wine.
okay.
You can also make
That's not what
vinegar
I mean.
out of apples. You can also make vinegar out of a lot of things. Sour wine turns into vinegar due to bacteria and oxygen.
Okay.
Bam!
She's here. There you go.
Yo.
Yes, it's transformed
Yo, Life,
into vinegar.
Are you talking smack, Life?
What?
Yeah.
Who am I talking smack to?
It's a question, not an assertion.
Nah.
Life, it's a question. You talking smack about the
No,
argument?
I'm not talking smack. I'm answering. I'm just refuting your sour wine argument.
All right, so bro, just be honest. Did Duran hit you up and be like, "They got me, man. They got me"? Did Duran hit you up? Be honest.
Nah, he saw the clips, man. He saw the video. He saw it live.
No, I saw.
100% did. 100%.
All right. So Korra Itachi has already agreed that grape juice isn't wine. Do you agree?
Grape juice in and of itself?
Yeah, grape juice isn't wine, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So why isn't grape juice wine when grape juice is used to create wine?
Okay, beautiful. Because you believe that wine is intoxicating, correct?
Of course.
You believe that wine is fermented, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Fermented grape juice. So it goes through the process of, fermentation. It's fermented.
Right. And it goes through a chemical change, which turns it into wine, right?
Exactly. Yep. So I have a question.
Which is why if I grab a...
Wait, hold on. I'm in the middle of speaking. Did the oxos in John 19 verses 29 and 30 go through the process of fermentation? Yes or no?
Well, when it's called sour wine, that's what it is.
Yes. So
it's in the name.
Okay, perfect. So it went through the process of fermentation, the exact same process that wine goes through, except the reason why it was sour is because it was over fermented. So I'm going to give you an example, right? If I leave out a cup of milk and I leave it on my desk and I allow for it to spoil and then I drink it, am I still drinking milk?
You're drinking spoiled milk.
Perfect. So if Jesus drinks over fermented wine or vinegar, he is still drinking wine. Thank you very much, Life. That's a concession.
No. Oh my God.
Okay, so this part is embarrassing. I don't know what all the I don't know what all that's about. Let me read y'all something. Why it's no longer milk. By definition, milk is a nutrient-rich liquid with a specific composition and sensory profile. Spoilage changes its chemical structure, flavor, and appearance, so it no longer matches the fresh product. Even if it still contains lactose and fat, the microbial and enzymatic activity have transformed it into a different substance, often thickened, sour, and potentially unsafe to drink. Now you tell me which one is milk and which one is not.
All right, so here comes the response. So you gotta let me respond now. Okay.
Yeah, you can respond. Good.
All right. So what is wine? Wine is alcohol, correct?
Yes, it's fermented to the point in which it is, I guess you can say, alcoholic. Sure.
Right. So when you get vinegar, what percentage of alcohol is in vinegar after it becomes sour wine and goes through a chemical change and becomes vinegar? What percentage of alcohol is left in vinegar?
So if you're speaking about the type of wine vinegar that we have today, you can say that it would be around like 1-2%, maybe even less, right? So not intoxicating. However, the oxos that is spoken about in John 19 is still being utilized for pleasure purposes, right? We have other instances within Roman history where Roman soldiers use this as a cheap alternative to expensive wine, and they use it for pleasure. So they don't use it as, wine vinegar. No, this is literally just wine for poor people. It's over fermented, right? So I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah, so you got to let me respond.
Wait,
you got to let me respond first, though.
Wait, I'm in the middle of talking, though, right? So,
yeah, but you made a statement and now you want to ask a question. I have to respond to that.
Yeah, that's how
she can do that. She can do that, and then you can respond in full.
That's how we do a dialogue, yeah. And I'm gonna let you respond in full. So oxos is used as a cheap alternative to expensive wine that is sweet. And the reason why they are capable of getting it at cheaper prices is because it's over fermented and it's sour in comparison to expensive wine. So you already agreed that if an individual drinks, for example, spoiled milk, it doesn't take away from the fact that they drink milk. So if Jesus drank over fermented wine, or as you want to deem vinegar, then he still drank wine and he broke the promise in Matthew 26. Would you agree or disagree?
No, he didn't break the promise because he didn't drink wine. And this is the reason why, brother, I got to speak, man. And this is the reason why I asked you earlier, is grape juice wine? And you said no. But for some reason, when wine goes through the same process and becomes vinegar, all of a sudden you still want to say that it is wine. It is not wine because it goes through a process which chemically changes the liquid. That's why it's transformed into an acidic liquid. It is no longer wine, which is the reason why it goes through a chemical change. That's why it's not wine, Korra. So now when you, hold on, I'll let you speak. So now, so now when you look at vinegar and you see that it has gone through that process, the reason why you get the word sour wine is because that's what vinegar means. But that does not mean that it is that alcoholic beverage that is being spoken of in the Bible, which Jesus says he is not going to drink. That's what you're not getting.
Okay, perfect. So this is exactly why I brought up the word oxos, and I'm speaking about the traditional usage of the word. Because what we understand to be vinegar today, or vinegar that is derived from wine, is that it went through a fermentation process to the point in which the majority of its alcohol content is gone, right? With oxos, that's not the case, because oxos is still intoxicating and it has that property that wine has. The only distinction is that it is sour in comparison. So you would agree that wine vinegar, the vinegar that we deem today, you would say that it's not intoxicating, correct? The alcohol content is not enough for you to be intoxicated by it. You would agree, correct?
Of course, if it's less than 1%, I highly doubt it'll be intoxicating.
I agree with that. The issue is oxos does not have that level of fermentation to the point in which that alcohol content is almost completely and utterly diminished, right?
And what is the evidence for that?
Yeah, so if you actually study the usage of this Greek term, and there's a reason why academic scholarship agrees that this is actually a contradiction, and the way that they reconcile it is they just say that John was ignorant to the promise that Jesus made in Matthew, because they agree that the conventional usage of the term oxos is a drink that Roman soldiers would use as a cheap alternative to expensive wine. So let's say, for example, I wanted expensive wine, and I don't have the money to do it. I would get oxos because I can get it at cheaper rates, and it would have a similar effect, but it would not taste as good. This is what scholarship says about the word. You can look at a multitude of different Greek lexicons that speak about this. Some of them say that it was a drink that was used to diminish the pain that you derive from crucifixion. Some of them say that it was popular amongst Roman soldiers because it was a cheap, low-grade form of wine. So the alcohol content was lessened, but it was not diminished to the point of wine vinegar that we deem today. And the reason why I even brought up this argument against Duran is because I wanted to get into the crucifixion. Right, I want to speak about the crucifixion with Duran, because what's so interesting is that the Basilidians, the individuals that believe that Simon of Cyrene was crucified, use these verses to prove that it wasn't Jesus, because they said that Jesus is an honest man. And if Jesus was an honest man and a man that was on the cross drank the sour wine, then the man that was put on the cross was not Jesus Christ of Nazareth. So how do you reconcile all of these different things, academic scholarship and early Christian groups all acknowledging that this is a contradiction and saying either John was ignorant or that it wasn't Jesus that drank it?
Okay, cool. So you got a lot of homework to do because you're going to have to actually prove the claims that you make. I'm actually giving a more of a scientific claim, which is actually true, which shows that these are actual liquid substances that have been altered, which is chemically changed and does not remain what it was previously. This is what happens when a chemical change has taken place within these types of substances. This is the reason why it is called vinegar, and there's a distinction between the two Greek words, which I'm pretty sure you looked up, that are used in the other one where Jesus is giving wine mixed with gall and myrrh. And that's actually what is the, let's say the sedative or the drug that is used to ease pain, not what you're referring to now, which is the vinegar. So that was a blunder on your part. But second of all, these are two different types of wines that are used, because if you look at the word, which I believe is oios or O-I-O-S, if I'm spelling it right, that is actually translated as the actual wine that Jesus says that he is going to drink later on, or stop from drinking until a certain time period. When we talk about this type of wine, it's directly translated as vinegar or sour wine, which, like I said, goes through a chemical change. Just because this is something that they were drinking and it was cheap does not mean it is the wine that Jesus is speaking of. This is a completely different altered substance that went through a chemical change. And that's why the word vinegar means sour wine. And I think that that's where you're getting mixed up when you're making your claims.
Okay.
So you're going to have to, you're going to have to
do
prove
my homework.
what it is that you're saying.
Right?
You're going to have to
So we're
prove
gonna
what you're
prove
saying
everything.
scientifically.
Wait, hold on. Not scientifically. I'm going to go to the scripture and I'm going to go to biblical scholars, right?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So this is the gospel according to St. John by C.K. Barrett, extremely respected biblical scholar. And what does he say? He says similar to what I said. He says, and I quote, the crucifixion and the death of Jesus. This is page 553. He says, there is no point in trying to harmonize this passage with Jesus's Last Supper promise, not recorded by John, to drink no more wine until he should drink it in the kingdom of God. So even biblical scholars understand that these two passages cannot be harmonized with one another, because irrespective of whether or not you would like to say that it was fermented and over fermented and all of these different things and it went through a chemical process, biblical scholars and even the Basilidians understood that these two passages cannot be reconciled, regardless of whether or not you want to say that the fermentation process took away some of the alcohol content and it's two different substances and different words are being used. Sure, Jesus refers to fruit of the vine in Matthew 26, but Jesus is not saying this specific wine that is in my cup right now. Because if you want to say that, then you would have to say that Duran in his debate with me was wrong, because Duran conceded in his debate with me that Jesus is not going to be drinking the exact same fruit of the vine that he was at the Last Supper. It's going to be a distinct form of wine. However, it is still going to be wine. That's the consistency. The consistency is regardless of whether or not it's the exact same wine, it is still wine. And regardless of whether or not you want to say that oxos goes through a chemical process that reduces some of its alcoholic content, it does not take away from the fact that it is still wine, whether you like it or not, whether biblical scholars like it or not, and whether the Basilidians liked it or not, because they understood this passage to be an evidence against Jesus' crucifixion. So I'm going to ask you a question. Who's better, you or your biblical scholars?
What?
It's a question. Who's better, you or the scholars of the Bible that say that these two passages cannot be harmonized? Who's better?
Yeah. I would say my position is better than his.
Wait, so you're more knowledgeable in terms of the Bible than his?
On this passage, yes, I am.
Oh, what's the
perfect.
basis that we used to establish your position over his?
My scientific basis that Korra had already agreed to. That's why.
That grape juice isn't wine? That's what I agreed to.
You agreed that grape juice isn't wine, right?
Well, I'm a little confused though, Korra, because the passage doesn't say he's not going to drink wine or grape juice or vinegar. He just says he's not going to drink from the fruit of this vine, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't
he's
it
talking
apply
about
to
wine.
any drink that comes from it?
From the fruit of the vine specifically, everybody
No.
agrees that when he says the fruit of the vine, what he's speaking about is the drink that is derived from the fruit of the vine, which is wine, right? Everybody understands it to be like that. Nobody disagrees.
So I got to get the
Life
floor to
agrees with that as
respond.
well. And life agrees with that as well. But you said, wait, hold on, because you said that you're more knowledgeable than your biblical scholars. So I'm going to ask you, if these biblical scholars,
Why are you taking
and
me out of
early
context?
Christian groups, yeah, you said that your position is better than theirs. You said that you're more
Yeah,
knowledgeable.
that's what I said. Yeah, on that.
Yeah, so you're more knowledgeable than them in this regard. So I have a question. What makes you more qualified to speak about the Greek New Testament than individuals that know Greek and studied it for their entire lives and are capable of acknowledging the fact that these two passages cannot be harmonized together? What makes you better?
Yeah, because just like he can study the Greek words and study the science behind vinegar and altering of liquid substances, so can I. And
Okay, Bert, you studied the Greek word?
Does that make sense?
Wait, and you studied the Greek word, you said?
But Korra, does that make sense?
Wait, I'm asking you a question. Did you study the Greek words?
Yes.
Okay, so you agree
Korra,
that...
does that...
So wait, hold on. So
No, but
if
Korra,
you've
does that
studied the
make
Greek
sense?
words, Sure, I'll grant it to you.
So she just tried to argue that I can't go against whoever this guy that she brought up because he's a scholar and he has more knowledge than me, and then concedes that I can go against this guy if I do proper studies on the Greek and the science.
So if you've studied the Greek words, you know that oxos, wait, hold on. If you've studied the Greek words, then you know that oxos still refers to wine.
Means vinegar.
It is still wine.
Oxos is translated to vinegar and sour wine. Now,
So
do
you
you know
agree
that
it's
there's
still wine, correct?
what is the other Greek word used for wine?
Doesn't, wait, hold on. You're just completely and utterly running from the point.
What is the Korra?
You're completely and utterly running from the point. You agree
I directly
that
answered you.
oxos, wait, hold on. So you agree, wait, hold on. No, you didn't answer.
So here's where she exposed her ignorance. I asked her, what is the other word in the New Testament that is used for wine? She says that's besides the point. Actually, no, it is not, because the word she's using, oxos or whatever, it literally is described as vinegar and sour wine. And the word that I used is described as wine. Period. Just wine. So there's a distinction being made between the types of liquid substances that we are dealing with.
Because I said you agree that oxos refers to wine, correct?
I said sour wine and vinegar.
Do you agree that sour wine is still wine?
Sour wine is vinegar.
Is sour wine?
Lord have mercy.
Is it still wine?
Korra.
Wait, I'm asking you a question. Is sour wine wine? Yes or no?
Korra, what is the French word for vinegar? What does it mean?
We're talking about Greek. Nobody cares about French.
No. What
You're
does
running
vinegar
from the Greek and going to French. Life, this is embarrassing. Don't embarrass yourself.
Vinegar has an origin of what it means. What does vinegar mean?
I'm so serious. Life. I'm just gonna have to put it like this. There's no way you're doing all this for Jawan Dorsey.
Sour wine is vinegar. So your question is, Korra, your question is null and void.
Wait, I'll grant that. I'll grant that.
Wine that goes through a...
I'll grant that. Wait, hold on. I'm in the middle of talking. I'll grant that.
It's going right over your head.
Wait, hold on. I'm granting that. Sour wine can be deemed as vinegar. Is all vinegar sour wine?
No, sour wine is vinegar.
Is all vinegar sour wine, yes or no?
If it's made from apples, then no.
Okay, if it's made from, so if if all vinegar is not sour wine, then you agree that oxos is indicative of a type of wine that is over fermented, thus making it still wine, and the point is still being conceded.
Okay, now you gotta give me some airtime.
Would you agree that
you have to give me some airtime? Can I get some airtime?
But I didn't get to ask my question.
You're saying the same thing I'm
saying. Let her ask the question, and then I'll give you a minute to talk.
I already answered the question 4 times.
Wait, no, I didn't ask the question.
All right, let her ask the question. I'll give you a minute, and then her a minute, and then we're done with this.
And it's yes or no. It's yes or no.
No, it ain't no straight dichotomy. No.
Wait, it's straight dichotomy and then explanation. Straight dichotomy and then explanation, not just straight dichotomy. Oxos, the word that's used in John 19, is oxos or the vinegar or the sour wine. Is it a type of wine? Yes or no?
What?
Is oxos a type of wine? Is oxos a type of wine?
Okay, sure. Let me fall into your trap. Sure. Because
answer.
Okay,
honestly.
now I get to expound, right?
Yeah, oxos is a type of wine.
Oh my goodness!
Can I say yes or no and then explain?
I said yes. Now can I expound?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you laughing at?
No, go ahead, explain.
So apparently Korra doesn't understand that you can use the word type to mean a form something can take through transformation. Here's why it's not good to cheer and laugh when you ask someone a yes or no question and think that you won before they started to explain. Let me give you a clear example. The fermenting wine is indicative of a process that turns it into vinegar. Vinegar is a type of wine if you're classifying it by what it's made from rather than what it is now. Vinegar is a type of wine in the sense that it comes from wine that has undergone a chemical change. There's nothing wrong with me answering her question honestly, but you must add the context. Historically, it was called sour wine because it has turned. So in that sense, you can say it's a type of wine that has been chemically altered, making it vinegar. But she wants me to answer yes or no because she wants to try to trap me, in which it's not gonna work.
Okay, if it's made from, so if sour wine, if all vinegar is not sour wine, then you agree that oxos is indicative of a type of wine that is over fermented, thus making it still wine, and the point is still being conceded.
Did you guys catch that? I told you. She's referring to the original substance used before it was transformed or chemically altered. This is the reason why I answered her quote-unquote trap yes, and now I'm going to expound and cook her.
So vinegar is wine that went through a chemically altering change, which is why the term sour wine means vinegar, and vinegar means sour wine, because the wine was chemically altered into another liquid acidic substance. This is why we cannot have this discussion without the word wine. So when wine goes through a chemical change via bacteria and oxygen, it turns into vinegar, which makes it no longer wine. That's why you can still use the word wine and sound like it's wine, but it's not. Wine has to be in play in order to get vinegar, which means sour wine.
Right, you're repeating yourself now. That's all you want to say?
I mean, I have to, because she don't
Yeah,
get
you have a minute, so it's fine.
That's all?
You had a minute, so it's okay.
You're good? All
All
right,
right,
go ahead.
now
Let Korra get her
that
last
was
minute.
it. I appreciate
and this
y'all.
is the wrap up. All right, and this is
go
the
ahead.
wrap up.
For sure.
So with your answer, yes, you conceded the whole argument. Because as long as you say that oxos is a type of wine,
Lord,
you agree that Jesus drank wine. And if you agree that Jesus drank wine, even if it's not the exact same type of wine that he was drinking at the Last Supper, you agree that Jesus broke his promise from Matthew 26. This is exact, and your example, we're going to make an example out of you today, Life. You are the reason why academic scholarship agrees that these two passages cannot be harmonized, and they just say that John was ignorant. You are a prime example of why the Basilidians rejected the crucifixion of your God and said that it was Simon of Cyrene. You and people like you are the reason why they don't believe in your primary doctrine of salvation, that they were saved through that life.
To be fair,
So you
Life.
conceded.
To be fair,
Nice,
Life. She
nice.
kind of got you on the scholarship end. You're appealing to your self fallacy type thing, okay, ma'am?
Yeah, I can quote
Listen, go
people who say,
FaceTime Durant. Go FaceTime Durant.
Look, if
Be
grape
like,
juice
listen, she
isn't
cooked me
wine,
too. It's
wine
all right,
isn't
bro. It's
vinegar.
all right. It's all good. She
If
cooked
grape
me
juice
too.
isn't wine,
Got
wine
me too.
isn't
Let's bond
vinegar. You
over it,
guys got
Duran.
cooked.
Let's bond over it.
Listen, she
grape
don't
juice
bring
isn't
scholarship
wine-
to Durant because it don't matter to him.
If grape juice isn't wine, wine isn't vinegar. You already cooked yourself by conceding that point. You guys already cooked yourself.
Quick question, bro. Is Jesus
They
fully God?
both go through the same chemically altering changes that alters the
perfect.
liquid.
So, wait, hold on. Like,
You
it's how
cooked
she said
yourself.
this conversation is over. So, TMA has a question.
Just not. I just have one question.
Hey, grape juice is no longer wine
TMA has a
No,
question.
no,
when grape juice is used, but vinegar is still wine
Life,
somehow.
stop crashing out. It's okay.
No,
You
but
and Duran are going to
there
bond
is a
over this on
difference.
How did I
Facebook.
crash out?
No, there is
Yeah,
a
it's okay.
difference between the two. Let's hear him ask his question though. There is
Yeah,
a
it's okay.
difference between the two. Let's hear him ask his question though. There is
Yeah, it's
a
okay.
difference between the two. Let's hear him ask his question. There is
Yeah, it's
a
okay.
difference between the two. Let's hear him ask his question though. There is
Yeah, it's
a
okay.
difference between the two. Let's hear him ask his question though.
Man, I love when the Muslims end up cooking their own sisters for me. Notice what she said at the end before the conversation ended. She said, yes, they are two different types of substances.
There is
Yeah,
a
it's okay.
difference between the two. Let's hear him ask his question though.
Let's move on. Thank you. I literally have been saying that this whole time. Korra is trying to put the two substances together while saying grape juice is not wine, but vinegar somehow is still wine when they both go through chemically altering processes. In conclusion, vinegar is not wine.